Revolution Radio proudly presents live from Phoenix, Arizona, the Truth Denied Talk Radio with host Roxy Lopez. Join us here for topics you won't hear about on mainstream news, such as chemtrails, GMOs, nutrition, and conspiracy facts regarding your personal sovereignty. Humanity is 7 billion strong. We are the majority. And now, live from the Valley of the Sun, your host, Roxy Lopez.
Tuning in. I really appreciate it. It is Friday, the 10th of May. And of course, you're all signed up on the event page to hear our guest speak this evening. And I'm really looking forward to bringing her on in just a moment. I do have something I want to address from our beloved owner, Hawk, we call him, and you all know his name by now. Everyone in the chat room, hello. Welcome to the show. Love it that you joined us. Everyone on the Facebook event page, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And, of course, I'm Roxy Lopez. The show is The Truth Denied, and we're always happy to be here on Friday night, the end of the week. Yay! Oh, my God, it's been a week, and we're going to talk about that with Laura Magdalene Eisenhower this evening. I'm very excited to have her on, and I just want to kick it and listen to everything that she's going to be talking about because she is a breath of fresh air always. I interviewed Laura last year, and when you're done with this show, people, when you're done with this 2 hours with Laura, you're going to be on fire. That's all I can say to you. Laura, welcome to the show. So glad you could make it with us.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're totally welcome. Let me give a little bit of background for my listeners, anyone who is not familiar with you, Laura. Laura is a cosmic mythologist. It's a very, very cool thing to be. Global alchemist, another very cool thing to be. Clairvoyant healer and earth advocate, and of course an artist. And through natural alchemy, sacred union, and living the entire mythological body of the goddess, Laura is powerfully creating a global transformation on the Venus path, taking on the darkest forces on Earth. Laura reveals the influence of the false matrix and conquers the hidden agendas that are affecting our personal freedom. She opens the gateways for ascension, reveals the source of ancient symbols, and brings to light the true Holy Grail. And I'm getting goosebumps just saying these words right now, Laura. You know what I mean? It does. It gives you just such a rush. But, before we get into the Matrix and a lot of the controversy that many people really are aware of today. I know a lot of people are very aware of the world behind the world, the two realities, whatever you want to call it. But I also noticed, and I was going to ask you this real quickly, lately, as of late, and I do mean as of late, the last couple of weeks, I have noticed disharmony, discord, confusion, stress, communication breakdown with individuals, and some of them who I've known for a long time. Like it's getting very interesting how to practice clear communication repeatedly. Are you seeing any of this?
Yeah, I mean, communication's huge because obviously, our words carry a tone and an energy. And, we activate all sorts of things with our words and our tone. And, if it's holding programming and it's holding old paradigm energies, it's like enough already. And so there's a lot of tension. Those that are done with it and those that are still holding on to it are kind of like sparring with each other. And it's really intense, and a lot of the astrological things going on. Uranus squared Pluto is a constant theme this year, and it's really difficult for people because it's like that inner earthquake. It's like the rumblings of like massive change happening without the tools and understanding of how to really go about it, because information activates us. and it brings up all our stuff, and it forces us to go within. And some people are just like, they want to take it out on others. They don't want to look at themselves. So it gets really wacky. And so, yeah, these are the times that it's necessary, but it's important that people work with it as best they can, particularly because truth isn't supposed to produce battle and war. It's supposed to enlighten, and we just have to be very careful about how information is shared, and to just really stay in the heart and plant seeds without feeling the need to save everybody, or, get into a dialogue about who's more crazy, and where it just causes more division, because unification is the highest vibration, even if people don't get the deeper conspiracy stuff.
Right. That makes sense. Should we sort of lose our expectations when we're conversing about quote unquote truths with each other? You just said a mouthful. I think losing those expectations of what that person is going to do with those truths is probably going to relieve a lot of people of that stress.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't want to carry the burden around, or, become really stressed about who can take it and who can't. I think our role is just to provide the information and to share it, and to do it with love and compassion, and let them sort it out. It'll activate a growth period that a lot of people, will fight. And so it's not about waking them up on the spot. It's just about, planting seeds. I mean, 2 years ago, I was talking about Mars stuff. I got a lot of criticism, and the same people that criticized me have come back and apologized. They said, I'm ready for this now. I get it. So, I mean, it just takes a little time for people, but once it's there, they might not react well, but it's still sitting there, and they're going to chew on it, and they're going to attract either more of it or more reasons to be open to it.
Sure, that makes sense. And then what about, unification? Big word there. Unifying, in my opinion, is the key. And of course, love. Do everything with love as much as we possibly can, and deal with our struggles, look in the mirror, so to speak, and deal with our own struggles, because that whole outward thing, the pointing fingers, just doesn't work. We come to realize that just really gives away empowerment.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, we have to understand that what is being reflected in our world is based on the collective health of the planet, of humanity. And of course, we've been highly manipulated, and we've been attacked, and there's been intrusions and infiltrations. But, it's what we buy into and what we still attach ourselves to that is what reflects our reality. And so it's incredible, because every time we experience something, and just every moment of our day, we're given things that we're capable of working on, or embracing, or revealing to share. It's like there's like a spinning wheel, and we can take advantage of every moment to help us raise our frequency. But we have to take full responsibility on the inside, because we've inherited all these programmings and archetypal imprints and ancestral patterns, and nothing's going to clear up on the outside unless we deal with that on the inside. So, we have to have patience and compassion for others, because some of this is just hitting them for the first time, and it shakes everything up, and unification is just holding space and not creating more separation, because of it.
Correct. I agree. I'm aligned with that. Thank you. We have to be conscious in every moment, and I don't think we're used to that. What do you have to say to that?
Oh my gosh, I'm just so glad you said that. Yeah, and I call it, yeah, and also conscious communication, staying conscious, staying in the moment, paying attention. In conversations, the things that we've been so desensitized to that we take for granted, we have to stop ourselves. What is that producing? What sort of energetic is that creating? Is it creating stress, strife, drama, opposition, discomfort? Or is it creating harmony, unity, comfort, and does it inspire an open mind in others? Does it allow people to become flexible or constricted? And to really master our communication and being conscious in each moment is really what we're being called to do. That's what challenge and adversity shows up for us to become masters, not victims. And so sometimes the harder the day is, almost the better it can be, because, wow, it's like that gives one even more of an opportunity to grow and to also affect change. So I love it. I love all the inner work. I love the constant process, because we're not just, at the mercy of it. We're here to change it. We affect it just as it affects us, but we can affect it and raise it to a much higher level, regardless of the technologies and the intrusions, because it's really all energy. and we can be the higher energy, you know.
Agreed, and correct. So there's an attitude adjustment, I would imagine, in facing all of our challenges.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, why not be happy doing it?
Yeah. I mean, to me, like we're the demolition crew, and then we're the architects to create and build, you know, heaven on earth, or whatever term works for people. I'm not biblical, but, you know, like a higher dimensional energy, a shift into higher consciousness, shifting the planet. That's what we're here to do. So, you know, it's like a fireman being called to a fire. No, it's like, it's easy to get burned, and it's not the most pleasant thing. But, you know, we have to remember, we're not saviors, but we're offering assistance. And I just think wherever we are, wherever we wind up, whatever our situations, you know, are, no matter how challenging it is, you know, we can hold space and have a perspective that works. I mean, compare a homeless person, and I've said this before, I don't want to be redundant, but I don't know if I said it on the show. It's not, you know, it's just kind of a simple, not necessarily profound, but if you were to see two people who are homeless, one might be a victim, begging for money, totally just falling apart and not able to manage, and then somebody else might just be free of all the attachments and be in their light body, able to create miracles and have the universe provide exactly what one needs. You know, it's the way we handle the situation and what energy we choose to align with within ourselves. And you know, there's a drastic difference with handling it like a victim and handling it like a master, or somebody who has trust and knows how the universe works and how connected we are to the elements, you know, to Gaia, to Source. And we can create all this stuff without money systems. We just have to learn and remember who we are and what we're made of.
It is interesting that you're talking about the money system too, because that seems to be the I don't know, the cord that binds us to this enslavement, because we find that we cannot function without money. And can you speak a little bit about, I love that you said remember, because we really have to remember we have all been able to function with unity, with trading with one another, with taking care of one another without the means of money. How will we get there without money? What are some of the ways in which you speak on this subject?
Well, I think we're slowly weaning ourselves off as we're developing and upgrading our DNA and restoring it, you know, and as we do that, we don't need the money system. It's, you know, and then there's that middle ground where there's a plan B, we have a backup plan. It's all about community and bartering. You know, I mean, this is what I'm going to be doing, helping Michael Tellinger and a friend of his who is really, you know, creating this movement, which I'll talk more about in the future, where we're creating a whole new system that is functioning totally different, but we're able to have IDs and passports, birth documents and everything that's legal, but not in this enslavement system, not with the players that we've been dealing with. So I'm working on all that to ground this on a practical level. But I think beyond that, you know, we're the most advanced technology, and you know, right now the internet's like a launching pad. Okay, we're all unifying, we're finding each other, and now we're kind of helping each other remember who we are. We're doing that with our own inner work. And, you know, DNA and this planetary body has been in lockdown. Obviously, it's been in quarantine, and it's been in a very low vibration on a dimensional level, and also our DNA. And so what is termed frequency fence is what's blocking our DNA from reaching its, you know, 12-strand potential and beyond. But what I've noticed with the frequency fence is that's sort of like the static and also the dark night of the soul, where you almost have to die and rebirth yourself so that you can kind of upgrade and move to the next level, because the death and rebirth has to do with the programming that's hitting you in the face, whether it be the money system, a genetic thing that, you know, is just energy being passed along, or attitude, or just the way one handles stress, and sort of reinvent ourselves when we hit these walls. And instead of complying to the system or sort of staying quarantined or in a low level of our DNA, you know, 2-3 strand, or in a low level of consciousness, we, you know, allow ourselves to go into that darkness and into that inner journey. And when we emerge on the other end, in that way, we sort of leap over or dissolve or transmute the frequency fence, and we upgrade our DNA. And then we get in touch with our spiritual abilities. But this other agenda, the false matrix agenda, is trying to plug us into the machine so that the ascension is really about technology taking over, and those that are running it, you know, kind of playing with the remote controls like gods, sort of like, the Hunger Games, where there's a technological based society and everything is, then you got the middle people that are kind of partying and they're supporting, and then you've got the districts. So, I mean, I've always seen like, okay, well, this is too close to what they're trying to do. But when we sort of allow ourselves to recognize, technology and nature have to work together, but beyond that, we are the technology. And if we continue to do the inner work and move through the different processes that we're being called to do by staying in touch with, our inner balance, the inner sacred union and source, we'll find ourselves busting through those frequency fences and assisting in keeping the natural stargates open so that we can transverse this 3D holographic prison and move into the higher earth energies. And if we don't, then we're staying in lockdown and technology is running the show. So we have to understand that to move away from the money system and move away from this matrix, it's going to take initiations on a spiritual level. It's going to take a lot of inner work, and not so much. I mean, actually, that sounds like it's fun. It's like, okay, what could be so terrible about improving our relationships and just the way we see I mean, it's really not that, like, we're not being asked to do that much. And just looking at all this garbage around us and saying, you know what, I don't have to give my power to it, even if we're in it. And the thing is, we can have our foot in both worlds, but still be on the path. And that's the thing. Then we don't need the money system, because yogis, they pull stuff out of the sky. They pull it out of the air. Higher beings that are here to assist us, like Valiant Thor from Venus, things materialize. Their consciousness is more powerful than the physical world, but we're in sort of that cusp where the physical world seems to be more in charge than we are. That's why there's disease and poverty and survival, and we're just locked in our lower chakras. But when we get beyond that, then the spirit has dominion and physical reality is shaped by consciousness. And that's when we don't need money system, because we're in tune with nature, we're being provided for, and we're also being nourished, even just by the sun or just by, energy. And we get back to the way it used to be before all these cataclysms happened with Atlantis and, all those things in our ancient history, because we used to be what we're returning to. And then it's going to be totally different, because we're in a different phase of just creation.
Absolutely. What are the false matrix timelines? What is this all about? I know you touched on it, but let's talk about this for a little bit. These false matrix timelines, because we are somehow wrapped into this. And what for the norm, or somebody who's just waking up to the fact that everything is not as it seems, can we get into that false matrix timelines?
Yeah, the false matrix timelines are basically artificial timelines, and negative extraterrestrial races that are vying for control of this planet. They're not all the same races, but supposedly in 2001 they all did join forces, because I guess that was the only way that they could really, not be competing against each other, but to make sure that the goal of world domination would happen. And basically they want control of the stargates. They've been trying to prevent our ascension process. And this is why the 2012 window, is so big. And so the artificial timelines are basically trying to siphon our soul energy into like what's called phantom Earth. And phantom Earth is where we stay on a descending planet that is not ascending, and we just sort of, end up in those scenarios that we've seen in movies that are just, where we're chipped and we don't really have access to our soul essence or our higher self. And the thing with chemtrails, it's got nanoparticles in it on top of a lot of other really insulting things. And I was talking to Lisa Renee over the weekend, and I mean, her research is amazing, but, we are really getting into it, and what we determined and what she was sharing has to do with how the chemtrails change our organs and the frequency of our organs. And basically what it ends up doing is creating a cage around our auras. And this prevents us from ascending. And what it does is it throws us into an artificial timeline that is not based on nature or our connection to nature or our natural blossoming, that if there was no intrusion, we'd be capable of doing. Also things like, the Mars stuff and just everything that is about, evacuating Earth or not really connecting to Mother Earth, more seeing it just like, okay, well, it's destroyed and damaged, we need to go, or anything like that is really not serving or honoring the ascension timeline, which is staying on Earth and recognizing that it's a cosmic multidimensional planet. It's unlike any other planet in the cosmos because of what happened after the Atlantean cataclysm. The goddess energy actually morphed into the physical planet, and this became a 13-dimensional planet. Lots of researchers have really validated this with just, I mean, I've allowed myself to really like research, okay, does anybody else getting this? Because this has sort of been like what my intuition's been telling me on a lot of levels, just the way the alchemy of this planetary body works, and what the Venus transits are doing, and what all the planetary energies, the spheres are doing, and why there's so much attention on this planet from all these extraterrestrial races. And so basically, all these different agendas that are alien, that are working with our government, are not about Mother Earth. They're really about, going to Mars, using technologies and things like HARP to create all sorts of disasters, to wipe out huge portions of the population, going underground into underground bases, and being on this timeline that's all about catastrophe. And, we don't have to be on that timeline. Those are all artificial. They are not from our heart, our soul, our spirit. It's from interferences. But see, I believe we're all one, so we don't want to create an us and them. We want to see, okay, where have we given our power away to it? Where are we stuck in a programming? And how can we allow it to be a catalyst for our transformation? And then in turn, how can we integrate this duality and these negative races versus the positive, and really find a way for light and dark to work in a way that's regenerative rather than destructive? Because light and dark you can't get rid of, but the darkness is very much the recycler. It's it's the primordial chaos. It's the fertile soil that births things. And so when we get a grip on darkness in the way that it's supposed to be, rather than dark forces hiding in the shadows where we're afraid to look there because we're told, to keep it all external, to watch TV, to externalize everything. When we go into that darkness and we form a relationship with it, and we understand our divine power in relationship to it, then we've moved beyond that. And so this is where all these agendas come in, and the social engineering and the things we see in the media and the distortions of the masculine and feminine, to rob us of those necessary steps and to lead us down these artificial timelines that are really serving the races and not humanity. And so there's got to be a way where all needs can be met, because obviously there's races that do need our help, but they can't do it as parasites. They need to do it as beings that are willing to move into connection to source, because anything out of connection with source acts as a parasite or a vampire. It just sucks the life of everything else.
Isn't that something, how that works? Isn't that something? Now, you mentioned something, catastrophic timeline. And because a lot of people are painting a catastrophic timeline, the end of time, the end of the world, the end, of course, May, what was it, the Mayan calendar, that was a real big one for many, many years. And of course, the world didn't end. It was simply the beginning of an era. And most people missed that. And it became an opportune time for people to fight all over again. See, I told you were wrong. Nothing was going to happen on December 22nd, blah, 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 or 21st. So this catastrophic timeline, is that part of the false matrix as well?
Well, I mean, catastrophe can really serve us. I mean, I'm kind of in that mindset where, there's wisdom in everything, and everything under the sun can serve us. Disease, adversity, catastrophes, it's what we choose to do with it. Do we lose ourselves to fear? Do we become powerless? Do we look to our leaders to solve it? Or do we become more close to our heart, our soul, our families, and the things that matter most? Because sometimes catastrophes can bring us closer together. And sometimes, it can, depending on the person's orientation, it can throw them into something else. Or, those that are sort of running the show are kind of not in that, artificial catastrophe. But if there are catastrophes that are more organic, and even if they're not organic, there's no such thing as death. People think death is linear, like you just die, and then, I think people know you go somewhere else, but some people think this is the one and only life. Okay, we know that's not the case, at least most of us. Death is cyclical. It's like the
Eisenhower. Laura, with this idea of this whole artificial world really that's been set up around us, and you mentioned something about chemtrails, being a part of locking down our aura into this artificial cage or whatever, what have you. What would the reason for that be? Would that be so that we couldn't connect with one another anymore?
Yeah, and so we can't connect with source. We can't really be on the natural ascension path. But really, you have to buy into the program to have it work. That's why there's all this bait out there, like false flags. I mean, if they only needed the chemtrail thing, I don't think they'd go to all the trouble to create such false news and such BS in the media and just in all the things that we see just in commercials and all that kind of stuff. So my viewpoint is that you have to buy into the program to have these technologies work. If you keep your frequency above that and you're really a free thinker and you're in your heart and you're all about unity and you're really on that organic ascension timeline, which, any heart-orientated person is really, for the most part, then I don't think, there's any danger there. And so, why? I mean, it's really just, it's almost like why the ego keeps us in lockdown. Sometimes that keeps us from our higher self. These beings are very service to self. They need something to feed off of. They don't really have any life force of their own. They're very demonic. And those that are in government have been promised all sorts of things if they serve those agendas. And a lot of, people in our government are scared of these beings. And so I have, compassion for them, but some are just completely and totally possessed. And yeah, it's just a total takeover. And believe it or not, I mean, it really connects to, Luciferian stuff, the Lucifer rebellion, the total desire to play God, and to, separate us from the true source. And that's what's so disturbing about it is, that it does get into that. But the thing is, separation, disunion creates that sort of demonic energy, and we see this in our lives. When we're not in balance, we get sick easily, our relationships break down, whether it's emotional imbalance or physical imbalance. But when we're in union, there's a third energy that gets created, and that's what I call, and others call, the magical child. It's a regenerative miracle energy that just allows us to bypass all this other crap. And that's why unity is their enemy. I mean, they do everything under the sun to keep relationships. I mean, they target people. There's all sorts of powerful technologies that can target, relationships, just all sorts of activity in the lower, fourth dimension and upper third dimension, all these astral entities that really like to get in our way and feed on our weaknesses. And so, we're raised by parents that don't really model relationships correctly to us because they got passed down the same stuff. And it relates to, this rebellion, basically because it wants to be the true source. And it really has to do with the fact that there was free will. This is a free will universe, and the mother-father energy split, and that's what birthed Lucifer out of that darkness. And so the same thing happens in our lives. We have to understand the micro and macro nature of things. Everything happening on the largest of levels, we have to find a way to relate to it so it doesn't become larger than us or like so difficult for us to grasp that we sort of lose ourselves to it. Like it's too big, it's too scary, it's too much, like conspiracy. We have to really take it down to the simplistic levels and recognize that, disunion feeds that demonic Luciferian energy, and union is the antidote. It's a higher frequency. And so whether it's Lucifer rebellion, it's really a force. It's an egoic force. And it really wants to, it's about the material plane. That energy got kicked down to earth and has kind of taken over. That's where, people can get lost with belief systems. So I'm not trying to create belief systems, but that's what mythology does. It's more metaphorical. It's more about, the story of the soul on an archetypal level, because we're made up of all these archetypes. We just have to choose how we're going to present this energy or integrate it or work with it. And what we emit is what links us to the outer vibration and the timelines, So if we're orientated, if we're balanced within, if we figured out all this sort of Anunnaki interference, which are other archetypal forces that have thrown us into these weird dramas and, dynamics between each other, if we can master those things, then we're free of the timeline. But you have to fall into the programming to have the technologies really work. You can really fry these technologies when you're functioning at a higher level. They go dormant, And it's just like healing. You have to believe you can heal for it to work too. So whatever you orientate yourselves to, there's all sorts of tools that are going to make it that much more stronger. But the tools don't really work, if you're not into it,
Yeah, no doubt. You're saying something so interesting. My sister passed away a couple of years ago of cancer, but her entire life, her name is Danny. And her entire life, she was so happy. She just believed in people. She was a hula dancer. She traveled the world. She wasn't materialistic. Yeah, beautiful, long black hair down to the back of her knees, and it goes on and on. She was just fabulous. And even when she was just plagued with cancer, they thought she was going to die like 4 years before she did. And even then, I stayed with her the last couple of weeks. about a month before she died. And, we talked and we got intimate, and she didn't have any complaints. She was in pain, but, she was at home. She didn't want to stay in a hospital. She was like, no, I don't need to stay there. And she just accepted certain things. And it was really interesting because she was the one who was giving everybody else the hugs, telling everybody they were going to be okay. And everyone that would come, I mean, she has hundreds of friends. They came from all over the world, stayed at the house, slept on the floor, you name it. And here's what's really groovy about what you're talking about. And I've witnessed this. That is who she was from the day she was born. And she just didn't allow. People thought she was ditzy, but she wasn't ditzy. She just saw good in everyone. I mean, you could be a drug addict. You could be have robbed the bank, and she'd sit down and talk to you about it. And people didn't steal from her, and they didn't rob her of her life force ever. And when it came time, when she really needed everybody, she didn't even have to ask, Laura. Everyone just poured into her life like as though she was the goddess, and they all came bearing gifts repeatedly to the last breath.
Oh my gosh, what an incredible story. Wow.
Isn't that wonderful? And, and I couldn't feel bad about losing her. Do you understand? She taught me. I mean, I was going to miss talking to her and everything, but I still talk to her now. And we just have a different relationship now. And actually, it's very, very clear and very pleasant. But what I'm saying is that what you're describing about all of us, about this amazing ability that we all truly do have, it is the shedding of the illusion.
Yes.
Isn't it? It's just shedding what's been shoved down our throats and in front of our eyeballs, in our ears and our mouth for all of our life.
I think it's awesome. I mean, I never listened in school. I had the worst attendance. So to be told that most of the things I've been taught are lies, I mean, it's like, yeah, I kind of had that sense, because there's so many projections. I just remember growing up, I'm like, yeah, I guess, at times when I was sort of just in the moment or just feeling the projections, I didn't feel like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm not smart. I guess I have learning disabilities or this and that. But there's a hidden part of me that just, you're like, what's going on. You don't need to give your attention to that. And even if I did or others do, there's no judgment, of course. But, we have to understand that we are not meant to be engineered to turn out a certain way. Even if we do well at it or not well at it, it means nothing. It's just being true to yourself, following your passions, following your heart, not fearing death, and just trusting that death is cyclical. It never ends. We walk through doorways. We go into new forms. And there's no guarantee we're going to live this lifetime forever, but it's who we are when we go that counts. And that's why I don't know why people allow themselves to be controlled or to become somebody they're not. It's like they do it for survival or for acceptance, or they're afraid of death, so they want to listen to somebody else and be guided. But, that's why I love this story so much, because you feel at peace with him because you know her heart and soul, and you know that wherever she is perfect for her.
We have lost Roxy. I'm trying to get her back now.
Was I able to be heard?
Oh, yeah, you're on the air.
Okay.
Just we've lost Roxy. I can't get her back for some reason. I'm fixing to call her cell phone.
Okay, but we're live right now?
Yes, ma'am. So if you just continue, it'd be great.
Talk.
You're going to hear the numbers, but I can't help that.
No worries. Yeah, so, I mean, this is the biggest thing, and that's why there's so much manipulation surrounding death. And I think, I think most of us are just over it. I mean, we really are. So I think that's her.
She jumped back, and she ain't coming in too good. I'm calling your cell phone, Roxy. We're not getting you at all on the Skype.
Hello.
Roxy?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Hi, Roxy.
Hi, Laura. I had to ditch my own show on Skype because the minute I asked you the question, it completely sounded like I was on Mars. All of a sudden, you just went away, and it was like...
Oh, wow, right. Well, I did answer.
So now I'm on a cell phone, and I've never had to do this on the show. So shall we move on? And I'll have to listen to the show back to hear what you had answered regarding our ancient civilizations, if they had the key, because you probably just totally answered that question, didn't you?
Oh, about the question about just what we are. Exactly. Yeah, I know I answered what you did, and then you were gone, and it was just really heartfelt, and it was really just about, the fact that wherever we are is perfect, and the whole deal is that we should never fear death. We should just completely honor our truth, and wherever we end up is perfect for us, and that's why we don't have to suffer about, where our loved ones go, and we have to just understand that, like, it's all eternal, and everybody's exactly where they need to be, but the best thing we can do for ourselves is to never give our power away or allow ourselves to be controlled. And I was really just honoring your sister and just how she held that so strongly.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, she was just a lesson for all of us. Thank you. Well, and you say a lot too, because when you speak about these things, I know that you're raising people's awareness when you speak at seminars, even doing a show like this, because what happens is you are saying very serious, true trigger words. And this is what you do for, day in and day out. This is why you do what you do, Laura. Isn't that the truth? Because you go out, and when you speak, it does wake people up. It's like tuning in the radio and fine-tuning it for others to all of a sudden be able to hear it for what it is. And I bet you meet a lot of people when you speak at seminars who are just truly grateful to you.
Yeah, it's amazing. I get a lot of really good feedback, and of course a lot of, wow, you talk really fast. I mean, that's the most popular comment. But yeah, I mean, I'm just blown away. People are like, wow, that was life altering, and I get great letters, and it's just, I love doing this, and I knew that this is where I just knew that eventually I would have a voice. I know that just coming into this family just has given me an opportunity to see things from an angle that is very difficult for a lot of people to see from. And I'm really humbled, by just the exposure to these forces, and so have really paid attention to just staying true to what it's really about, rather than, what I can make it be because of some glamour attached to it, when it's quite the opposite. Whatever I've chosen to kind of work with based on just, the family line is a part of who I am as a soul that chose to come in to bring this awareness into, like, taking down the military-industrial complex and really just embodying the solution, and also pointing out, the deeper layers that we just don't see. And, so the fact that I can really put those dots together and express them to people when I'm used to my whole life being kind of shut up, it's just, like, totally surreal to me.
No doubt.
And my most favorite thing is that, and I used to just pray to just the source, or whatever you want to call it, just to the sky, just please just let these forces of control leave me alone so I can just love humanity. I just wanted the freedom to love. And, I didn't think it would come through the form of Facebook and the internet, and I knew I would probably be speaking and having a voice, but I didn't know what it was going to look like. But it was all about the freedom of the heart, just to be unified with everybody, just to be doing exactly what we're doing right now. That was like such a dream of mine. So I'm so grateful for the support, and I absolutely just feel so much love and connection to the people I meet every day. I mean, I can't tell you. And I do readings every day, and that gives me a chance to really be one-on-one to help people process some of this heavy stuff. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, I want to bring something up, too. For those who are listening, if you're unaware, Laura is the great-granddaughter of Dwight David Eisenhower. And, you just brought up the military-industrial complex, which made me think of your great-grandfather. How does that fit in the lineage, in your family line, with what you are doing now? Was President Eisenhower, wasn't he part of a big military-industrial complex, as well as wasn't he aware of the extraterrestrials? And what does your family think about this? Because really you've become a whistleblower as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely the only one in my family that talks about UFOs and ETs and brings it up at the dinner table and just is like, okay, let's talk about this. Something's going on here. And so because, not a lot is spoken about, and it doesn't even seem like a lot's being hidden, it's a really normal family, and I've had, friends meet my family and spend a lot of time with them. It's, wiffle ball and driving Hondas. None of us have trust funds. It's not like some ritzy family. I mean, people think, oh, because Eisenhower used to be in the White House, we must be loaded, and that's absolutely, laughable. I mean, not
Right.
based on the projection. I can understand the projection, but when you look at us, it's like, no. But where it all, kind of, fits in is, okay, He did his best in the Second World War. There's a lot of stuff going on with extraterrestrial, with UFOs, pretty much. I mean, but really the treaties started with Churchill, Hitler, and Crowley. This is based on Lisa Renee's research and other whistleblowers that I've researched. And then it went to Roosevelt, the deals with the Greys. And then by the time it reached Eisenhower, the three-letter organizations were already set up with Truman. And it became, kind of like, all right, he's immersed in the middle of something that is developing as a military-industrial complex, sort of starting to swallow the government while he's kind of being pushed into the presidency by Rockefeller, who he considered to be perhaps maybe an ally or an associate. He actually put a time capsule in the Gettysburg Farm that exposes, he wants it open in 2050, that exposes what he really felt about the people he was around and what is really going on. But that's kind of a different story. But the point is, he met with extraterrestrials, I firmly believe. I don't have any family proof, but based on everything that I've researched and all the whistleblowers, and the latest one that's out right now with Richard Dolan, definitely there were treaties. And there were also beings from Venus that came around in the 1960s that worked with Eisenhower and Nixon. Eisenhower put them up in the Pentagon for 3 years on VIP status, and actually Nixon and Eisenhower, there's a movie coming out, and I've really become friends with the producer who has met Frank Strange's and has been very close with the beings from Venus himself, who's made sure this movie's coming out. That has to do with how Eisenhower and Nixon really were supporting their presence and what their mission was, but they got shut down by the shadow government. So, okay, there's negative beings that treaties were created with. They broke those treaties, and when Eisenhower was aware of this, he wanted to storm or invade Area 51. This is the latest news about this, but somehow that wasn't happening, and he discovered that MJ-12 had complete and total control, and this is, maybe around the time that the beings from Venus came, and that's why there was never an invasion of Area 51. But he never was, signed on to these lower races, as in agreeing with anything about their agenda. I don't think he really knew what they were all about, because at that point they had already been working with Hitler. So what I've said to people is, I feel that the Second World War was not won, but it changed form, and it's, basically infiltrated our American government. And, obviously with Project Paperclip, a bunch of Nazi scientists came over. But with these treaties and treaties before, the implementation of underground bases happened. Lots of experimentation and a lot of collaboration happening with the shadow government. Not with Eisenhower, though. That's when he was kind of kicked out. He was used as a scapegoat, as the person, dealing with the treaties. And then this whole other shadow government just is getting larger and larger. But the seed of it happened way, way, way before, during the Second World War, way before it, actually in our ancient history, thousands and thousands of years ago. But we have to know that there's very benevolent races. And, I'm not here to, be a biased or, trying to keep Eisenhower in a strong light. I mean, I'm here for truth. But I do have to say, I'll report both negative and positive. I'm not on anybody's side except for the ascension of humanity and truth. But what I have discovered is he definitely was wanting Valiant Thor and the beings from Venus to succeed in their mission, to help, awaken humanity, and to, steer us onto a course that, relieves all the suffering and all the, financial and, everything, just the whole military-industrial complex. So basically the speech had to do with the fact that he knew that there was no real power, that MJ-12, the shadow government, the military-industrial complex, and the power of the Pentagon and the military really were those forces that he was warning us about. And but he couldn't mention much else. We were kind of kept in the dark, but a lot's coming to the surface. And so it's just amazing to hear that he was really championing the mission of those from Venus, because really what that represents is who we are on a heart level, just our higher abilities, what we're really capable of, and what our true potential is. And so he was totally on our side, but some decisions were made. I'm sure if we could all go back, I mean, we can't blame the things. We have to take it to the next level, and that's kind of what I'm here to do, is just to take it all to another level, and to recognize that we're all a family, and this is all our story. Who cares who's related to who? I mean, we're all in this together. There's things that we have to pick up from our ancestors and transmute and take to, where it really is meant to go, and get rid of this virus, this germ, this bacteria, this parasitic system, that is completely in a whole nother ballpark of energy, that have basically possessed souls that are just orientated towards, maybe wealth and fame and power, and that's how it was happening. But even in the law of one material, the raw material, they say Ike was highly positively orientated. He wasn't bent on power, and that's why he was the man that met with most extraterrestrial races. But, he did his best, and, the shadow government's been in the works for, thousands and thousands of years since Atlantis sank, back in the times of Nimrod and, Babylonia and Sumeria. So, we can't just think, somebody just signed a treaty and that's why we're all screwed. It's like, no, this has been happening for longer than we can imagine. And really, even before Atlantis sank, I mean, there were the Lyran and Draco wars. I mean, this is old stuff. This is cosmic battles that the humanity is caught in the middle of.
Right, and that's you just said it. Humanity is caught in the middle of it. For one, we don't remember our star seeds. We don't remember, this is about the Great Awakening, you know what I mean, to remember who we are. And with all that you just said, is it possible? Is it possible for humanity to begin to take back the planet, take back our sovereignty, if you will, our spiritual sovereignty? Is this all absolutely possible? And if so, Laura, how long do you think this will take? Because we are so linear. We want to know how long. Is it going to take today? Is it going to take an hour? Is it going to take 25 years? But just because you are very in the know, and there are a lot of stories, a lot of myths that talk about certain times, and we seem to be in those certain times. How long do you think it can take, or is that not a good question?
I think every question you ask is great. So, I mean, it's hard to pinpoint, times and all that sort of stuff. But, basically the window period of the stellar activation cycle is during 2012 to 2017. And this is when we're able to really accelerate and go through initiations on a soul level, on a DNA level, to be able to move into the new Earth energy. But a lot has had to be done to make this possible, because basically the ascension timeline got hijacked big time, pretty much around 99 or 2000. It was almost a done deal. And then around 2005, it was like pretty much solidified. And then around 2006, the timelines changed. And guess what? This is when Project Camelot came out. This is when I broke free of the Mars recruitment. This is when all sorts of shows started to come out and people started to say, wait a second, something doesn't feel right. And then the deeper mission got activated. So this is sort of like, you could compare it to the movie Avatar, or, the way there are just invasions of indigenous tribes where one sees victory. You see that you can't defeat certain groups of people, certain individuals. There's this response that says, no, I don't think so. So instead of becoming controlled or programmed or the product of some kind of invasion where there's defeat, many souls have risen up and said no, and we're all standing together, and it's creating a whole new timeline that has nothing to do with alien agendas. But, we're still we got our foot in both worlds, and what happens is during this time, the stellar activation cycle, which means that the stargates are opening. It's 26,000 years ago was the last one, or maybe it was even a different scenario. I just know 26,000 years ago was, the end of one cycle, the beginning of the new one, connected to the Mayan calendar. But basically, if we're not able to raise our frequency in the next 3 years or 4 years, we will not be able to move into the new Earth energy. We will be cut off, and we will be on what's called Phantom Earth. And that's basically thought that was appropriate for me. Yeah.
It's a wonderful name. I just love it. Now, for those of you who want to call in the show, I don't know, Thomas, can you give the number over the air, please?
Yes, ma'am. The number is 347-474-7228, and it's extension 821.
Thank you very much. And I know that a couple of people on Facebook were asking if they could speak with you. They wanted to know if they could call in. So, of course, please call in. You certainly may. Now, Laura, about this timeline, and, of course, we've got the false timeline and we've got the real timeline, so to speak. Is this timeline, the organic ascension timeline, you call it, is that something that we are creating as we wake up one by one and as we connect to one another, as we unify? Or is there an actual target for that?
An actual target for that?
Target time, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, this is the stellar activation cycle between now and 2017, which means that the Earth and its connection to the galactic core are at its strongest peak. Kind of like when the cataclysms happened way back 26,000 years ago, and there's a number of them actually. It threw the planet off its axis to such a degree that it's almost like somebody surviving a car wreck that has to go through physical therapy. And This kind of happened to all of us, but we were taken advantage of by extraterrestrials during that time so that we wouldn't be able to progress to a certain level, where our healing was stunted, our DNA was messed with so that we would just be slaves because our frequency was so affected that we turned almost back into Neanderthal, almost primitive state, even though we used to be much, like ET 12 strand, just full-on extensions of source energy. I know ETs are used for all sorts of races and beings, but this is the highest, type of race, like in Hyperborea and just the original root races. And so, our healing process, our natural ascension has to do with the planetary body. And it's gotten itself back in alignment with the galactic core because this is just sort of the progression of the Venus transits. Because life and death was established, we could come and go from the physical as we pleased before. But because of the polarity of life and death, the Venus transits have to do with just the alchemy and just even Venus in its orbits draws a perfect pentagram in the sky. And that's been slowly restoring us naturally, cosmically, and of the Earth, when we connect to the Earth and the prana of the energies that are coming through the Earth, and also what we're connecting to from our crown chakra, it gives us all the codes that we need, including the sun. So it's a very natural thing, and this is why the artificial matrix is all about bombardment and infiltration and putting this news in our face, where all of a sudden when we're about to take a big leap as a humanity, 9/11 will happen, or the Boston bombings, or Sandy Hook. And just as we're about to take a leap, then we're all of a sudden thrown into terror and fear and anger, and, we're trying to solve this problem that the news is telling us, is happening, and we lose our orientation and we get distracted from feeling and connecting to the vibration of the organic ascension, which is really natural and very easy to connect with. It's the distractions that are getting us, and that's what locks us into the artificial matrix, because it's based on falsities and systems of artificial, control structures and authority structures, where the good cop, bad cop is, man-made law, and then the out-of-control reptilian energy, which is the misuse of sexual energy. So we get both, where it's just this ridiculous authority that's all about, jails and putting, pot smokers in jail, and just like it really is looking out for our health, pulling us over for not wearing a seatbelt, just this BS. And then on the other hand, you get like this major low vibe, total, programming of the masculine and feminine, where people are desensitized, people just aren't paying attention to their soul connections. It's just really superficial, and it's the good cop, bad cop, and it's really both forces are dark, and we get locked into that matrix. That's what puts us on those artificial timelines. It sinks our vibration. We're just functioning on such a low level. But as soon as we detach and we just, turn into just ourselves, and we connect to the earth and the cosmos and what's really happening, not what's generated and created artificially, then we're on track. And if we devote ourselves, it allows us to make mistakes. It allows us to still be who we are without having to do it perfectly. But it's a commitment. It's a relationship. We have to look at the ascension timeline as something we're in relationship to. It's a dance. It's a co-creation. And so what you're saying about all of us waking up is part of bringing as many as we can with us. But a lot of times we lose people to the distractions of false flags. And it's like, okay, we're not choosing that, but we can't really, stop everybody from doing that. And then the best thing we can do is just hold space, plant seeds, and what I say is leave breadcrumbs behind, because I don't know if a lot of us want to wait around anymore. We got to get going. But I think a lot of us will serve as spirit guides, and like we're never going to abandon our loved ones and our family, and none of us can really sit anywhere else watching, this destruction happening. But I think we need to understand that, the soul needs certain experiences and lessons, and sometimes it takes a really harsh reality in a control system to have that soul scream out and say, wait a second, I don't want this anymore. And we have to trust that the souls that aren't going to make it are going to have those kind of breakthroughs. Even if there is control, there's the soul energy, and just what our intention and focus is on is what's going to take us to the next experience. And so, then maybe they'll incarnate, on an ascended planet, even if they die in a matrix we've all kind of left years and years ago. So, it's an individual journey, but the ascension timeline's fixed. It's the only real timeline, I feel. The rest are just fake. But we have a few years to get as many going in that direction as possible, and those who don't, nobody's going to give up on them, but it's going to get a lot harder to reach them unless the inner soul and the divine spark is screaming and saying, wait a second, this is wrong, where others might just give themselves away to it and not know the difference.
Right. I think it's a very loving thing that you're talking about. It's to approach the collective and say, come on down. You know what I mean? I think it's a very loving thing to do. A lot of us have been called to do this work and, don't even really have a reason why. We just show up and, I say suit up and show up is my motto. You know what I mean? And we just do it. But there's a knowing. There's a deep sense of knowing that, a certain clock went off and said, okay, stop what you're doing over here, and now you're going to do this over here, and then all these doors started to open. So, I think I was groomed for it, as you probably were as well, Laura. I was groomed to do this because I came in wanting my freedom, in this lifetime. I didn't know what freedom wasn't. I didn't want that. But, hey, we've got some callers on the line, Laura. You want to take a couple calls?
Well, sure.
Well, sure, she says. Okay, 480, welcome to the show. Did you have a question for Laura Magdalene Eisenhower?
Yes, I wanted to see what Laura's insight was on the concept of the monetary funds coming back to the people, especially in America, as a transitional state to out of money. Because obviously that's the ultimate way to be, but I'm wondering if, Americans, especially the attachment to it, and maybe most of the world, but do you see the money coming back to the people, like the OPPT fund, the trust fund that they had for people? Do you think that will actually come to fruition? Do you have any insights on that, or have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, I have, and because I'm already immersed in sort of Michael Tellinger's Ubuntu movement and the contributionalism and no money system, and just really getting more in touch with our just unified skills and just sharing that amongst each other, I've sort of moved away from that because there's too many gray areas, and I don't really trust much that's out there. So I feel a little bit more comfortable being actively involved in something that I can just sort of like see the underbelly of, to make sure that everything's fine. So I have kind of kept a distance from it. I think lots of justice is going to happen. I mean, when you think about the congressional hearings that went on last week and the movies that are, just people are really stepping up. And, when we let go of being a victim and we let go of our anger and blame and all that, and we really free ourselves, then that energy goes back to where it was first sent out. It's like if somebody hurts you in your life and you're carrying the burden of their mistake, the minute you let it go, that karma gets returned to them. But if we carry it for them, then they never get the backlash. So I think if we can all just really just step into our power and really hold a high vibration and set intentions and really look deeply into certain movements to make sure that they're okay without blindly just saying, okay, this looks good, and really do the research and really look hard, all this stuff is going to turn around on a collective level. I just really feel it. And lots of activations happening. We just had a powerful new moon yesterday, which was an eclipse. So I just feel hopeful about everything. But I think it takes a lot of discernment, a lot of inner work, a lot of connection to intuition to make sure that something isn't presenting a falsity that people get attached to, which distracts them from taking responsibility to maybe find, something more viable, maybe like right now. I I think it's really important to let go of attachments. That's what disasters can bring. People just say, wow, my house just burned down, but I found, a picture of my mother, or, the engagement ring that my mom gave me. Those are the most important things. That's all I wanted out of everything. People aren't as attached as we think. It's the sentimental things that represent love that people really want at the end of the day. A lot of this is just programming. People are going to have their dark night of the soul about whatever they're losing or whatever. But you know what? You just got to trust, because that stuff doesn't have as much value as the collective power of our heart, our unity, and what we're capable of doing that has nothing to do with money, governments, and even compensations. But I do believe there's some movements that will provide things that are necessary, that we do need, and we do deserve compensation. So I'm all about supporting it with an open mind, but not with a fixed belief.
Absolutely. I completely resonate with that, and am tuned with both of you ladies. And I thank you so much and send you guys so much love and gratitude for all you do. And I completely understand that, and I feel that. So thanks for that answer. Hopefully it really helps a lot of other people get that.
Yes. Oh,
well, thanks so much, and thanks for calling, and really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. And we've got more callers on the line. I just wanted to interject something, when we were talking about the military-industrial complex. I started looking into it because there were people that were basically saying to me, Laura, that, you can never get rid of a military. Well, I discovered that there are 22 countries in the world right now who have no standing military.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, isn't that great? So for anyone who says you can't do it, well, 22 countries are.
Oh.
And so I'll put out an article about it and list all those countries. So I think that's very inspiring. I know it inspired me to know that there's 22 countries who gave up. And by the way, they take the monies that they would have funneled into military and soldiers and bombs, and they funnel it into the communities now and culture.
Oh, that's great news. Oh, gosh, I'm so glad you shared that.
Don't you just love that?
Yes. Oh.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that, and see how with all that and all your travels, that's something that you never even came across, which means they really probably don't want people to know that there are 22 countries in the world that have no standing military.
I knew there were some, but yeah, these are bigger numbers than I expected. So thank you that's
You're
another
welcome.
Big reason to smile.
Isn't it? I just love it. Okay, let's see. I don't know. I'm getting lost in the order of things. So, let's see. 480. Did we already get you? Or, no, I know what it is. 425. We've got a 4255. Are you on the line?
I am on the line. Hi, Roxy. Hi, Laura. This is Matt from Seattle.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt from Seattle. How you doing?
Good. I just wanted to thank you both for being on today. This has been an excellent episode, and so first of all, a lot of respect. I think both of you have a lot of courage for doing what you're doing. It's awesome. I feel more inspired when I see things like, people taking action and whatnot. And so that's cool. I had a couple really fast questions. One of them, the thing you mentioned about the Phantom Earth in the next 2 years, if that happens, will there not be disclosure, or are they related in any way? And my second question about the Venus you were mentioning earlier, like Valiant Thor, was he in an astral body and inherited like a physical body, or are there like physical beings on Venus?
Good question. I don't know. Maybe they're light beings on Venus, but then they take more physical form when they come here. I haven't met them myself, but I have plans on that because I'm going to go to Lake Mead soon. I'm going to be camping out right there where his ship is supposedly stationed, and I'm just going to really put it out there. But, the minute you walk onto his ship, supposedly, no matter if you have a limp, if you're blind, if you're any kind of disease you have under the sun, gets completely healed in that moment. And the UFO is like their skin. So it's just so fascinating. Check out Craig Campobasso. He's putting out the movie, but he's written books. Frank Strange's has written books, and people can really learn a lot about Valiant Thor. And they don't have any handprints or fingerprints. They just have no karma. They're just absolute love. These beings are amazing.
Wow.
You can't shoot at them. You can't shoot at their ships, and nothing will happen if you do it. I mean, they can't be killed. They can't be harmed. I mean, and they're holding space for us. I mean, there's ships, there's Venus motherships around the planet, and they're stationed here. Even though they were put up in the Pentagon for 3 years and they were shut down, they still didn't leave us. You know, that's a really good sign that they, chose to stay with us. If they really, I mean, I think if anybody has lost hope, nobody, they haven't. So
that's
awesome.
Truly amazing.
What,
Matt, you said you were calling from Seattle?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I know you had another part of the question. Oh, I don't know if you wanted me to answer that.
Oh, no, go ahead. Just get the other part. I was going to ask Laura if she was going to be up in Seattle anytime soon.
Oh, I might be. Yeah, I'll be posting about it if I am. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
Oh, yes.
Great.
End of July, I think, or June, but I'll have it on my website. But as far as disclosure on the Phantom Earth timeline, there's the controlled, things are either controlled or they're not controlled. The economy could collapse under a certain level of control to throw us into another currency that is all about, enslavement. But there could be a collapsing of the economy that's much more organic. There can be, an Occupy movement or a protest that is somewhat engineered to create a stink around something, or it can be very organic. It depends. But, a false matrix disclosure would be about disclosing certain ET technologies for the sake of having those ETs, like gray aliens, become our masters. That would be the Phantom Earth disclosure, where we're hearing about extraterrestrials and nanotechnology and us funding or supporting the transhumanism agenda, where we're hearing all about ETs and ET technology, but it's immersing us into their agenda in ways that we don't want. We don't want. But then there's positive disclosure, which is, okay, there's extraterrestrials. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we're up against. Just like the congressional guy, the Canadian official from the Defense Department, the former guy in Canada, has said, there's free energy. I mean, this is already something that came out. And the human race deserves to know what's going on. There's been 3 different races visiting us, and they're still here. And, we have to really take our power back and understand what we're up against, kind of thing. And I would say that that's more positive disclosure because it's empowering the human. It's we have to remember that we are advanced. We're very close to source. And we, don't want to go down any timeline based on an alien agenda. The ones that are really benevolent are here to empower us, to remind us of who we are, not for us to serve something that we need to do. We don't need to do anything but just to, embrace Gaia, embrace the earth we're on now, and create justice and unification based on coming together. And we have that power and ability. So there's races that are going to help us do that. But once we start nodding our heads to doing it in a way that we're being told to do it, that's a big red flag. So there's a lot to watch out for. I don't trust a lot of the ETs, but I absolutely feel my heart open towards some. And that's why discernment and the inner work is so important, because without having a strong intuition, we're easily led astray. But so I think that there's 2 types of disclosure, one that represents the artificial, Phantom Earth timeline, and the one that is really going to assist us in our empowerment and in recognizing that we're the advanced technology, and it's about us upgrading our DNA and reclaiming our spiritual abilities and powers.
Excellent. Do you think that it'll happen? Is there a certain timeline, or is it just up to us to kind of progress into it at our own rate?
Well, the stellar activation cycle, I don't want it to sound like, oh, we only have 3 years. But, we're already on that path, and it's an unfolding. The intelligence of any plant or flower or tree is in the seed, and then it has to go through a natural unfolding. As long as we're true to ourselves, as long as we reject the things that are insulting to us, and we just detach from the news, we can still observe, but we can't get, so immersed in it that we lose ourselves. I feel, this is an accelerated time, and we need to take full advantage of it. But we have to be at a certain level in order to be able to move to the next level, kind of thing. And if we don't, we kind of fall behind. But it would be because we're absolutely ignorant and refusing to, accept certain information. It takes a lot to remain on Phantom Earth. I don't think a lot of us are going down that road. So as far as the amount of time it's going to take, how long does a wound heal? It kind of depends on the immune system of the person. But after a certain point, if the immune system's not activated, the disease is going to be much stronger than the being's ability to heal from it. So we got to kind of look at the organism Earth in a similar way, and our relationship to it in a similar way. It's just like our body. the global immune system is our unified spirit. It helps to rid the planetary body of the parasites and the viruses and all these agendas. But if we're not able to do it collectively, we'll still be able to do it individually. We're not doomed because of others. But we have to orientate our beliefs in a way that works for us too. I'm not here to create fixed beliefs, but I'm definitely offering things that beyond a reasonable doubt I'm feeling really good about. And so it's the immune system of the spiritual body recognizes insults that it doesn't have to repeat again. Maybe an abusive partnership, or maybe a guru that was actually corrupt. There's certain things we won't repeat once we go through it. So we're building our spiritual immune system based on a lot of the dark forces that are on the planet, and it's strengthening us, but we have to recognize that, it can also weaken us just like disease. We can be strengthened or we can fall prey to it. But even if we did, if our soul is orientated towards love and we're just being true to ourselves, these are just meat suits, which my partner uses the term. We're just wearing a jacket, even if it degradates and even if it doesn't make it, things like Valiant Thor's ship, Victor 1, have our DNA on a database, and they can, give us a new body. I mean, we can pick up a new body anywhere. I mean, death is not the scary part. We're lifting the veils between life and death. It's where our consciousness is. So if we don't physically make it, that doesn't mean anything. But our consciousness is what's going to go through the gates, whether it's in this physical vehicle or not. And it has everything to do with love and unity and all the gushy good stuff, but also being very real and very practical about what darkness really represents, because we have to merge the two. It's all about unification of polarity. I'm not worried about most people for the phantom timeline. But yes, you go to certain stores, you go to the mall and you look around, zombies. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I get a little concerned for them. But when you really get to know people and you see how their heart is, some people are just full on loving. They just don't understand the programming being imposed on them. And I still think those beings have hope. I think it's about service to others or service to self. And, whether you're really giving your power away. But I think we've got a lot of time, but I think we're over a lot of humps, and we should just enjoy the ride. But let's work together. Let's do the inner work. Let's not be complacent as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So, Matt, great. Matt, I'm going to have some information on thetruththenight.com. Laura's websites are linked up, and we're going to have a bunch more information of some upcoming seminars and conferences and Laura's radio show and everything like that. So you'll definitely want to check it out.
Definitely. I've been waiting for a good one to come out here for a while. I'm
good.
excited.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Well, thanks for your support, and thanks for giving us a call.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, and now let's see. We're going to take up caller 928. Caller 928, welcome to the show. What's your name? Hello? Caller 928. I see you there, and I hear you, but I don't hear you. If you decide to speak up, just go ahead and speak up. So, Laura, do you think that the other aspect that you might be experiencing, maybe even in the last year, is that would you say that more people are receptive than maybe 5 years ago to love,
gosh.
to ascension, to just shedding this sort of old paradigm, if you want to call it, or old reality or the wrong reality? Are more people open to it and just ready for it?
Well, I definitely feel like I'm attracting more of those types to me. I don't know. I mean, that's a really great question. I also feel that a lot of people who dive into the conspiracy stuff feel like they're waking up because they know, hidden stuff about the shadow government, but they're still not in a vibration of love. They're still angry, and they're still fighting, and they're still not really working on themselves. And I think there's just two levels of awakening, and I think the spiritual is more important in a lot of ways, but, sometimes it takes the dark information to, instigate that awakening, and, everybody's different. But I definitely do feel that. I love this online community thing we got going. I think there's so much love that anybody can tap into by just opening themselves up to the fact that it's not just a social network. We're all people behind the keyboard, and we're all connecting in radically beautiful ways. And And I just feel that it's a huge ascension tool right now, and it's a launching pad for us to be able to move in telepathy and to also, higher forms of communication. So yeah, I'm definitely experiencing more love, and my children have transformed into just these incredible beings of really just being on this mission and path as well. And I just see it everywhere. And kids are easy, because they're born with that awareness, but just in family, just everywhere. Yeah, I really am, definitely. But I think people hit a crisis and they kind of crack. They hit like a wall with the negatives. They can't go much further. And then all of a sudden they're just becoming love too, because that's the divine spark within. And it's like it's bursting forth in lots of people. You can't contain it forever.
Right. It's not meant to be contained. And
No,
people are probably getting really tired of not feeling love and validated. So when they plug into this, they feel at home. You mentioned about the internet being at home before we got on the show tonight. And welcome back to The Truth Denied. Again, our host is me, Roxy, and our guest is Laura Magdalene Eisenhower. Real quickly, the owner, Hawk, I started to say this at the very front of the show, and I totally spaced out. I went somewhere else. For every $50 donation that is made to a Revolution Radio, which is where we all host our shows here, and of course we're all volunteers. For every $50, you get, and I can't remember the size. Thomas, can you let me know the size that will be provided and mailed to you?
I believe it's a quart.
I thought that's what it was too. So that's a lot. It's a quart of honey, filled today. So I guess he has bees. I guess Hawk has bees. But anyway, fresh honey. And I said to him when he told me about this today that, I want some honey. So, I guess I have to make a $50 donation to my own show to get some honey. But anyway, any of you who want some honey, we'll set that up. Donate $50 during the show, and you'll get a whole quart of obviously organic, powerful, cool honey for those of you who like honey. I know I love honey. And then the next thing I was going to say is, Laura, we just dropped the Cosmic Gaia Sophia.com into the chat room. So everyone in the chat room, please, just for a moment, can you go to the website? Go ahead and click on the link, Cosmic Gaia Sophia. We just dropped it in there. And take a look at all that's upcoming for Laura. And I especially want to point out that Laura and Dr. Dream, have a show called Awake in the Dream Radio. Awake in the Dream Radio. I love it. I love it. I love it. Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. You'll see that. It's right on the front. And then you've got some really interesting seminars coming up, and of course you can go ahead and scroll down and take a look at the different seminars that Laura's going to be speaking in, as well as Dr. Dream. One in particular that I'm interested in looking at is the Contact in the Desert. Can you talk about that one, Laura?
Yeah, that's going to be really exciting. Let me see, what can I share about it? Wow. Well, there's going to be incredible speakers. I almost don't know really what to expect. But, just a little example of what I know is that there's the Visit the Giant Rock Site, things about remote viewing, music under the stars, bringing telescopes and night watch glasses, vision, the night watch vision. And some really incredible speakers. Stephen Greer is going to be there on live stream. Graham Hancock, Jim Mars, William Henry, Robert Bivall, Michael Sala, Jason Martell, Michael Cremo, Roger Lear. And I know people who are probably on the website are like, yeah, we can see what you're reading, but David Serrato, right. Carol Rosin, George Filer, Alfred Weber, Suzanne Taylor, Richard Dolan, Dr. Dream, and just, this is really a great gathering of beings. And because we're in such a critical time right now, I just think it's just so important that we gather and we just hear all the stuff and then decide for ourselves, what does that mean to us? That we're empowered and we can take this information and let it pass by our own intuition and decide what to keep and what to reject. Because it's really about empowerment right now. And just one thing I really want to point out about disclosure too, a lot of ETs are promising technologies that can solve all our problems, but we have to remember that a lot of them are the same ones that created the problems, that want to look at like the heroes. That's what, our governments do as well. So just have to add that. And I think, lots of information to help us have better discernment and to really know what we're up against is really going to be the theme here. So that's going to be awesome.
It looks absolutely awesome, and that's going to be out in Joshua.
Oh, and the Integratron. Yeah, the Integratron as well. Oh my gosh, Integratron.
What's that?
Well, I just know that it's someplace in that area, and it's some sort of amazing healing technology that I think comes straight from Venus, actually. And
oh wow,
I've heard
Integratron.
unbelievable, things about it. I've never been, but I can't tell you how many times that I've heard about it, and it's right. It's going to be right there. So I think this is going to be a great one. I hope people will join us.
Oh, so much fun. Sounds like so much fun. And I'm sure it'll be very successful. Absolutely. I mean, that one just really sticks out to me, too. As far as the disclosure, you brought that up, too, and a lot of people bring it up. For me, the intuitive feeling I have about disclosure is that, just like everything you were talking about, Laura, the self-discovery mode is really where it's at, and the self-awakening mode, because I think that disclosure is an I thing, a personal thing. I mean, why are we waiting for government to tell us, right? Like, to me, this doesn't make sense. Waiting for government who we don't trust at all, who we know is the enemy at times, are functioning or dysfunctioning and very toxic for us. But yet we're waiting for those same individuals to let us know that it's all real, that ET is real, or that we've had interaction. But why? Why? It's such a bizarre twist to me.
It doesn't make any sense.
We count on them, right? It doesn't make any sense.
Because they're just going to deliver it in a way that pulls us more into their web, because it's pretty obvious they're extraterrestrials, but how they're going to reveal it is going to pull us into the trap of what these agendas represent. But presented in a way that we think is something we need, like, oh, this will make the world a better place. But, we have to understand that there's a huge difference between stepping into our own power and relating to our higher self and our own abilities to make the world a better place than having it under this level of control, because ETs have been dealing with our governments for a long time, and it's just been in secrecy. So them, letting us know that it's actually happening, is like, great, we already knew it, but the way they're going to present it is still going to be tailored in a way that I don't feel is going to serve us. And maybe a little bit of it will, but, take what works and reject the rest. This is not a time to just listen and nod your head and say, okay. This is a time to take in information and absolutely, let your higher self be the guide, let your intuition be the guide, and chew on it and look at it real closely. But I would just, I don't give the government any of my attention. I mean, I don't even vote. I have nothing to do with the government anymore until it completely turns around, until we raise the new system based on cosmic law and creating, harmony amongst each other and utilizing technology in harmony with nature, not to control nature. And that's what they're doing. It's all about weather control. It's all about, let's, control the weather to make this world a better place. No, they've been creating disasters for a long time. These are liars and criminals. I really don't think people should be waiting around for them. Let's look to each other, and let's put our hearts out there and let it, be the discernment, because I get triggered listening to anybody in the government at this point. I'm just like, ouch, no, that's not
right. Well, I had a solution to the problem.
I don't want to. Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to say I know that there are good forces there, and I don't want to completely trash it either. So.
I know what you're saying. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but at this point, the bathwater is mud, and maybe it just needs to be cleaned out. I mean, it's not. I know what you're saying. You're looking for balance, and you're looking to love everyone and everything, and that's a cool thing. I mean, that's a totally cool thing. And because to feed them with hate only causes more problems. So to feed anything on the planet with hate, I mean, hate is a real mechanism here, and a tool for some. And it's not a good thing to get in the habit of hating. I mean, I don't particularly like the word, but
or blame or anything like that. It's just
exactly.
It's just knowing,
I mean, it's moving out and growing up.
Totally. And it's just knowing that they're dealing with malevolent forces that are, making it difficult for them to maybe do what they would like to do. And so we have to hold space for them and hope that they'll join us rather than condemn them to the dark side. I mean, we just have to, be willing to forgive and to just unify, even with some of those, for anybody who's just waiting to have permission to just step into the light, but they're just in a compromised position. So I hold hope for everybody, and I support the good in all. And that's all I can do. I support the good in Obama and in the government, but I absolutely see more darkness than I would like. And so I'm not going to listen until that changes, but not with hatred, but with love for the real stuff.
Do you think that this revolution, this global revolution, is different than any other revolution that we've had before? Or do you think we've had one like this before in ancient times and we just don't remember it?
Well, I don't think there's anything that's been like this before. And that's, a lot of people say, oh, the human race is doomed. We've been here before. Civilizations have crumbled. What makes people think that we're going to get through this one? First of all, we're in alignment with the galactic plane. Second of all, the Earth body is different than what it used to be. It's coated with, source energy. I mean, it's different than other planets. And a lot of my presentations are about that. So I'll just kind of let people check that stuff out. And, we're at a phase on a collective level that we've never been at before. There's races from other universes that have come to assist us. We're dealing with, so much on a cosmic level with so many different beings. And we're also dealing with the restoration of something that's a transformation that takes things to a level that's different than where they were before. Because that's what metamorphosis and transformation is.
What was that?
Some music.
I have no idea what that was. I'm on a cell phone now. Okay, people. I got rid of all the technology, most of it, through the station. So I'm on a cell phone. So where'd that music come from?
Not sure. Not from me.
That was a caller that was sitting there, and I hung up on.
Oh, a caller. Is there a caller on the line?
Not now.
Where did they go? Oh, you hung up on. Well, which one was holding to come online?
That was the 928 that didn't talk
earlier.
Well, we
gave 928 a whole bunch of chances, and they didn't. And so then I guess they decided to play some music instead. All right, 928. That's fine. Anyway, that was actually kind of bizarre. I was like, what's going on? The obvious message here for you and many others that you do get together with seminars and so forth and celebrations, and I see a lot of names that I have also interviewed on a lot of these and know personally. This global family really. You were saying that it has never happened this way before, and the alignment and the galactic alignment that we're in, and et cetera. It does seem that the revolution, if you talk about it, I call it I call it evolution, revolution with a little r. So it is timing, and I think that it's happening very organically. It seems that, the words that we all use in the last couple of years, Laura, our language has really changed. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, a lot of concepts that just really remind people. It's like, oh, thanks for reminding me. It's like there's a languaging that can help snap people out of it, that can help help people see the differences between what this system is all about and what the real stuff is all about. And, I mean, I think we've been in similar phases as far as, alignments and, I mean, somewhat similar, but it's always different. I mean, nothing's ever the same. We're on a completely different level. And I think, our languaging, is all about kind of, the word transformation, transmutation, moving into a higher earth energy. We're being linked back to an earth energy that we've experienced before, but what we've gone through and what we've survived is like nothing that I think we've gone through. All these incarnations, the tree of good and evil, the zodiac, and all these different tools that are helping us with like a map to get ourselves back on track. While there's this dark polarity that's trying to sabotage us. I mean, I think maybe something maybe similar, but like our languaging is really represented with just the emergence out of, the ashes, like the phoenix, and just, these are ancient themes and terms, but I think on the level that we're experiencing it is like, nothing before. And you can just tell when we just put our languaging together and just everybody's kind of chatting and talking that we're all kind of saying the same things. We're picking up on the same stuff. And, we're just, maybe explaining it in slightly different ways. But it really, and I love how you hit home how much it's about the individual, because what you own on the inside is what you reflect on the outside. So we can't get so distracted by other timelines and other scenarios that we feel means it's ours, but we don't want to separate ourselves in thinking that, we're not all, one on some level, our spirit essence, and that we, should just let them deal with it. I mean, we're here to make a difference, and we're here to provide a resource, and but we don't have to make it like a burden. We don't have to, create struggle from it either. And I just noticed with the languaging that people are really finding their way, and they're really just, words are powerful. Words are everything right now, just to untangle the old programmings and realign our voice patterning with our higher self. And I think we can tell because our physical body responds, because it's very wise when we're slipping and when we're not, because our bodies get more weak and easily, sick when we're in that misalignment, and we don't want to be, or it just falls into the false light of the matrix and it thrives, but it's like the light of ego. But there's the kind of like loss of health for a little while when there's like a detox or a removal of a programming that throws us into a little bit of a crisis. And then we move more and more into a heightened state of awareness and self. So we get a little bit of the both depending on which direction we go in. But I just see in people's languaging a lot of those reflections of, oh, I don't want to go in that direction. But if somebody's going into a similar direction but towards the good side, oh, my body needs this, I'm detoxing. Like, listen to the wisdom of your body, because it'll absolutely guide you. And the medical industry has completely robbed us of that power. And I just want to share a link really quick, healthyfamilynow.com. Is Dr. Dreams and I, we do combined sessions here in Ventura, California, and we treat the body, the spirit, the mind, the emotional body, everything. We combine all our skills together, because this is really what it's about. And I'm so grateful that, you keep bringing it back to that, because that's where it's at.
Right on. Is that your readings page that you just gave out?
Nope. This is completely different.
Oh, what is it? You do so much, I can't keep up with you, Laura.
It's called Healthy Family
which page was that?
Oh, it's not on my website. It's called healthyfamilynow.com, and it's
healthyfamilynow.com.
It's what Dr. Dream and I do together. For we do combined sessions, and we have people come to our office. And I just wanted to throw that out there, because I know it's not a link on my website.
No,
it'll still be posted there so people can find it.
Absolutely. And we've got caller 505. We're almost at the end of the show. 505, what's your name? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Roxy. My name's Susan. Thank you. Was I supposed to call a different number? Or is this a private number? I was calling in to just ask Laura a question. I got this on the Facebook page. Oh, okay. Well, it's been 2 years since I started to realize, just what the world is really all about. And I'm 52, so it was quite a shocker. But I'm pretty much stable, I guess, other than I have a lot of anger issues about the people, these dark people. And I was just wondering if there's any advice Laura could give me about letting go of some of that. I hate to say hatred, but it's anger for sure. Okay. Just like some real...
Yeah, I do, because I had a lot of that anger, and basically it's fire. It's the element fire. It's rage, it's fiery, it's aggressive, it's, it could do a lot of damage if it was, set loose or ran out of control. So what I do with my anger is I say, this is fire, but it's also passion. Move that anger into passion and make it your passion to create change, to make the world a better place. Instead of focusing the fire on the anger about what's happening, turn it into the passion of how you can make a difference. That's the fuel. My anger is basically the fuel of my passion. When I start feeling angry, I get a lot done in a day, but I'm channeling it into what I love to do, which is to do readings, to just assist individuals. And it doesn't matter how big or small. There's no better or greater or lesser or higher role once you're activated. But just work with the fire element, and also get exercise, move the body, reset the nervous system, use essential oils, keep your frequency high, and, just recognize it as a catalyst, but also, as a force that's, losing its grip. We have duality in our bodies. We have bad bacteria. We have, catalytic forces that, boost the positivity, like our immune system. It strengthens it. So, allow yourself to see it in a perspective that's not going to make you so mad or feel helpless. Look at it like biology, just the way, just biology works at times. And just keep empowering, the goodness. And when you hit the darkness, because we need to embrace both, like I said, passion, and it's divine rage, and don't beat up yourself, just work with it and channel it, be creative, write, do art, just get it out of you so it doesn't create torment on the inside and so you don't have to let it out at the wrong people that might be hurt by it. And just remember, you're not here to save everybody. You're here to plant seeds and just share information and do your best with it, and that, everything's really going to be okay.
Right. And thanks for calling, Susan, and thanks for your support.
And get a reading, because I can look at your chart.
I just gave her, I just dropped into the chat room for everybody the readings page. So, and we'll also have that, everybody knows this. We'll have an article out and, of course, the video of this show, all of this information that we're talking about so that you can connect with Laura for a reading or what have you. Let's just rock and roll, okay? That's what this is all about, is connecting people with other people like Laura is talking about. So, and yes, if you need a reading, do not hesitate to speak with Laura. And Laura, I love what you just said about channeling anger into passion. And I think that, you're right on target. Healing from the inside out is really what we're all doing. And that is, sometimes we get angry when we're going through that, or we get angry at that outer world and when we're learning the discipline of the inner world. And, we keep getting dragged back to the outer world and pointing that finger all over again. And then we've got to be pulled back in and realize that we're much more empowered if we do that inner job, that inner work, because we start to see a lot different. But the anger, we all get angry, and I love what you said, because I think it's really it's a process. And the whole thing, life is a process. Yeah. So live it and have a good time, and don't beat yourself up because you got, pissed off today at somebody. I mean, it happens. We are in a physical body, and we do have, these a gamut of emotions, and we're supposed to.
Yep. We have got all these elements, and people think enlightenment is just being peaceful and just completely removed from it all. But really, it's about being real and being genuine and just owning it. But keeping it under, a certain watch so that it doesn't wreak havoc on yourself or others, and so that it can be managed in a way that can create the best results.
I think that's sound advice. And an old mentor of mine many years ago said to me, she said, do whatever you, I was very surprised by the answer. I said, well, what am I supposed to be doing and what am I not supposed to be doing? And she said, do whatever you want. And I said, what? And she said, do whatever you want, but there's a caveat here. And I said, yes. And she said, because you'll have to take ownership for it. So you might just want to think about what you do.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was like, oh, wow. Yeah, it is awesome, is it? Because it's the truth, too. Laura, it's been such a pleasure having you on the phone. I don't on the show. I'm on a phone, that's why I just said that. But anyway, I'm not used to it. I've never done the show ever in 2 years on a phone. So I'm totally at a loss here. It feels so strange. But what a fabulous show. What a fabulous talk that we got to have, and I hope you'll come back again.
Oh, I'd absolutely love it. I've just had so much fun with you, and I just enjoy just being here so much. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. My gosh.
Absolutely. And hey, what's the very next conference you have coming up? You have one coming up. Is that the Stargate in June?
I think the next one is Stargate to the Cosmos. Yes, June 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Okay.
And that's Henderson, New York, right near Lake Mead, where the Venus, Valley, and Thor ship is supposedly stationed, but you can't see it.
Henderson, Nevada, yeah. And anybody that's living in Nevada or listening anywhere in California or anything that's real close to you, you can get there easily. You know it. Henderson, Nevada. So that'd be good to go and speak, hear Laura speak, and hear and meet you. That'd be really nice. And real plus on your your teammate and your partner, Dr. Dream, and good for you guys that you're moving forward with so many different aspects here, and the radio show. Congratulations on that as well. And hey, Laura, just keep up the great work. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. I'm glad we got to connect. It's been about a year, so I really miss you.
Oh my gosh, I feel the same. I really do. I can't wait to just, continue to be in touch because, there's such a connection. So thank you again. Oh my gosh. I love being here.
Oh, thanks. I love having you.
when you're done with this show, people, when you're done with this 2 hours with Laura, you're going to be on fire. That's all I can say to you. Laura, welcome to the show. So glad you could make it with us.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're totally welcome. Let me give a little bit of background for my listeners, anyone who is not familiar with you, Laura. Laura is a cosmic mythologist. It's a very, very cool thing to be. Global alchemist, another very cool thing to be. Clairvoyant healer and earth advocate, and of course an artist. And through natural alchemy, sacred union, and living the entire mythological body of the goddess, Laura is powerfully creating a global transformation on the Venus path, taking on the darkest forces on Earth. Laura reveals the influence of the false matrix and conquers the hidden agendas that are affecting our personal freedom. She opens the gateways for ascension, reveals the source of ancient symbols, and brings to light the true Holy Grail. And I'm getting goosebumps just saying these words right now, Laura. You know what I mean? It does. It gives you just such a rush. But, before we get into the Matrix and a lot of the controversy that many people really are aware of today. I know a lot of people are very aware of the world behind the world, the two realities, whatever you want to call it. I also noticed, and I was going to ask you this real quickly, lately, as of late, and I do mean as of late, the last couple of weeks, I have noticed disharmony, discord, confusion, stress, communication breakdown with individuals, and some of them who I've known for a long time. Like, it's getting very interesting how to practice clear communication repeatedly. Are you seeing any of this?
Yeah, I mean, communication's huge because obviously, our words carry a tone and an energy. And, we activate all sorts of things with our words and our tone. And, if it's holding programming and it's holding old paradigm energies, it's like enough already. And so there's a lot of tension. Those that are done with it and those that are still holding on to it are kind of like sparring with each other. And it's really intense. And a lot of the astrological things going on. Uranus squared Pluto is a constant theme.
Revolution Radio proudly presents live from Phoenix, Arizona, the Truth Denied Talk Radio with host Roxy Lopez. Join us here for topics you won't hear about on mainstream news, such as chemtrails, GMOs, nutrition, and conspiracy facts regarding your personal sovereignty. Humanity is 7 billion strong. We are the majority. And now, live from the Valley of the Sun, your host, Roxy Lopez.
Tuning in. I really appreciate it. It is Friday, the 10th of May. And, of course, you're all signed up on the event page to hear our guest speak this evening, and I'm really looking forward to bringing her on in just a moment. I do have something I want to address from our beloved owner, Hawk, we call him, and you all know his name by now. Everyone in the chat room, hello. Welcome to the show. Love it that you joined us. Everyone on the Facebook event page, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And, of course, I'm Roxy Lopez. The show is The Truth Denied, and we're always happy to be here on Friday night, the end of the week. Yay! Oh, my God, it's been a week, and we're going to talk about that with Laura Magdalene Eisenhower this evening. I'm very excited to have her on, and I just want to kick it and listen to everything that she's going to be talking about, because she is a breath of fresh air always. I interviewed Laura last year, and
this year, and it's really difficult for people because it's like that inner earthquake. It's like the rumblings of like massive change happening without the tools and understanding of how to really go about it, because information activates us and it brings up all our stuff, and it forces us to go within. And some people are just like, they want to take it out on others. They don't want to look at themselves. So it gets really wacky. And so, yeah, these are the times that it's necessary, but it's important that people work with it as best they can, particularly because truth isn't supposed to produce battle and war. It's supposed to enlighten, and we just have to be very careful about how information is shared, and to just really stay in the heart and plant seeds without feeling the need to save everybody, or get into a dialogue about who's more crazy, and where it just causes more division, because unification is the highest vibration, even if people don't get the deeper conspiracy stuff.
Right, that makes sense. Should we sort of lose our expectations when we're conversing about quote unquote truths with each other? You just said a mouthful. I think losing those expectations of what that person is going to do with those truths is probably going to relieve a lot of people of that stress.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't want to carry the burden around, or, become really stressed about who can take it and who can't. I think our role is just to provide the information and to share it, and to do it with love and compassion, and let them sort it out. It'll activate a growth period that a lot of people, will fight. And so it's not about waking them up on the spot. It's just about, planting seeds. 2 years ago, I was talking about Mars stuff. I got a lot of criticism, and the same people that criticized me have come back and apologized. They said, I'm ready for this now. I get it. So, it just takes a little time for people, but once it's there, they might not react well, but it's still sitting there, and they're going to chew on it, and they're going to attract either more of it or more reasons to be open to it.
Sure, that makes sense. And then what about, unification? Big word there. Unifying, in my opinion, is the key. And of course, love. Do everything with love as much as we possibly can, and deal with our struggles, look in the mirror, so to speak, and deal with our own struggles, because that whole outward thing, the pointing fingers, just doesn't work.
Level, regardless of the technologies and the intrusions, because it's really all energy. And we can be the higher energy,
Agreed. And correct. So there's an attitude adjustment, I would imagine, in facing all of our challenges.
Yeah, definitely.
Why not be happy doing it?
Yeah. To me, like we're the demolition crew, and then we're the architects to create and build, heaven on earth, or whatever term works for people. I'm not biblical, but like a higher dimensional energy, a shift into higher consciousness, shifting the planet. That's what we're here to do. So, it's like a fireman being called to a fire. No, it's like, it's easy to get burned, and it's not the most pleasant thing, but we have to remember, we're not saviors, but we're offering assistance. And I just think wherever we are, wherever we wind up, whatever our situations, are, no matter how challenging it is, we can hold space and have a perspective that works. Compare a homeless person, and I've said this before, I don't want to be redundant, but I don't know if I said it on the show. It's not, it's just kind of a simple, not necessarily profound, but if you were to see two people who are homeless, one might be a victim, begging for money, totally just falling apart and not able to manage, and then somebody else might just be free of all the attachments and be in their light body, able to create miracles and have the universe provide exactly what one needs. It's the way we handle the situation and what energy we choose to align with within ourselves. And there's a drastic difference with handling it like a victim and handling it like a master, or somebody who has trust and knows how the universe works and how connected we are to the elements, to Gaia, to Source. And we can create all this stuff without money systems. We just have to learn and remember who we are and what we're made of.
It is interesting that you're talking about the money system too, because that seems to be the cord that binds us to this enslavement. because we find that we cannot function without money. And can you speak a little bit about, I love that you said remember, because we really have to remember we have all been able to function with unity, with trading with one another, with taking care of one another without the means of money. How will we get there without money? What are some of the ways? And we come to realize that just really gives away empowerment.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, we have to understand that what is being reflected in our world is based on the collective health of the planet, of humanity. And of course, we've been highly manipulated and we've been attacked and there's been intrusions and infiltrations. But, it's what we buy into and what we still attach ourselves to that is what reflects our reality. And so it's incredible because every time we experience something in just every moment of our day, we're given things that we're capable of working on or embracing or revealing to share. It's like there's like a spinning wheel, and we can take advantage of every moment to help us raise our frequency. But we have to take full responsibility on the inside because we've inherited all these programmings and archetypal imprints and ancestral patterns, and nothing's going to clear up on the outside unless we deal with that on the inside. So, we have to have patience and compassion for others because some of this is just hitting them for the first time, and it shakes everything up, and unification is just holding space and not creating more separation, because of it.
Correct. I agree. I'm aligned with that. Thank you. We have to be conscious in every moment, and I don't think we're used to that. What do you have to say to that?
Oh my gosh, I'm just so glad you said that. Yeah, and I call it, yeah, and also conscious communication, staying conscious, staying in the moment, paying attention. In conversations, the things that we've been so desensitized to that we take for granted, we have to stop ourselves. What is that producing? What sort of energetic is that creating? Is it creating stress, strife, drama, opposition, discomfort? Or is it creating harmony, unity, comfort, and does it inspire an open mind in others? Does it allow people to become flexible or constricted? And to really master our communication and being conscious in each moment is really what we're being called to do. That's what challenge and adversity shows up for us to become masters, not victims. And so sometimes the harder the day is, almost the better it can be because, wow, it's like that gives one even more of an opportunity to grow and to also affect change. So I love it. I love all the inner work. I love the constant process because we're not just, at the mercy of it. We're here to change it. We affect it just as it affects us, but we can affect it and raise it to a much higher level.